So here's a question. How do you keep yourself as a parent from raising an asshole? I am not talking about my own kids. I'm not specifically talking about your kids either. I'm just saying in general, how does a parent stop themselves from raising an asshole? And the reason I'm asking this question is because I just ended up on the Icy Wyatt side of TikTok for the very first time. And so for those of you like me who didn't know who he was, let me give you the quick 411. He's a famous TikToker. He has, 1.5 million followers. He's very flamboyant out there. He was living in Florida and in 2022 got in a road rage incident where he allegedly committed aggravated assault with a GUN. Back this fall of 2024, he was sentenced to 15 months in prison. And his mother, the Icy Mom, also has a social media presence on TikTok and does her own content. And oftentimes her content is a lot of commentary on his content. It appears like they don't always get along. And so she had posed this question a while back. How do you, keep yourself from raising an asshole? And then just within the last couple of days, she raised a similar question when somebody commented saying she had raised a creature or something like that. So I'm going to include both their usernames below so that you can go see what I'm talking about. But here's the issue. How do you stop yourself from raising an asshole? How do you stop yourself from raising somebody who ends up in jail? So first thing I'll tell you is some parents suck. All right. I've seen all shapes and sizes of parents over the years with their kid as a criminal defendant. Some parents don't give a crap about their kid. They are phoning it in. It's not about wealth. It's not about work. It's just, they don't care. And I do hold those parents accountable because if you make a child and you bring them into this world, you have responsibility to raise them to be decent members of society, or at least try your best, okay? But let's put aside the parents who suck for now. And we'll talk about the parents that do try. No parent can be promised that they're not gonna raise an asshole. You could be the greatest parent on the planet and your kid could still end up being a dick, okay? But there are things that you can do to try to keep them on the right path as best you can. And when I say keep them on the right path, I'm talking about, let's just start with keeping them out of jail, okay? First and biggest things, substance abuse. You can be the best parent in the world and your kid could still end up with a substance problem, but I can tell you that if you are vigilant, you talk to them about the issues. I am an advocate of testing teens. I know that's not always the popular thing, but to me, when you test your teen for substances, it, number one, gives you an opportunity to talk to them and get them help if they need it and they didn't know how to ask for help or even know that they needed help. And number two, it gives them an excuse with their friends to say, my parents test me, they're jerks, and I can't use this substance. It's not a perfect system. You end up the bad guy. I've never had a problem being the bad guy. So that's one option. So the other thing I'll tell you is mental health. Just because your kid has reached age 20, 22 and you haven't seen any mental health issues doesn't mean they're not going to rear their ugly head. You've got to pay attention to your child's moods and situation where they're looking or feeling a little bit off. Make sure you are in a family where mental health is not something to be ashamed of and that you get them the support they need as soon as possible. So again, not a magic promise that you're not going to have a kid with problems and end up in jail, but those are by far the biggest issues that I see. But let me talk to you about something else, and I've said this before, but again, it bears repeating because this is such a big issue. The people that are in my office in a revolving door that come back and come back and come back are people who cannot control their behavior and do not understand the concept of personal responsibility and consequences. So if you raise a kid who is undisciplined, who always gets their way, who blames everyone around them for whatever problems that they are suffering from, you are going to have a kid who is very likely going to end up having a run-in at some point with the justice system. Because if you are unable to control yourself, we all get in situations that are uncomfortable. But we have to control ourselves. You don't steal because you want something and you can't have it. You don't hit somebody because they make you angry. Yes, it can be true that the police can mistreat people. I see it all the time. But just because the police mistreated you doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what happened that caused the police to be there in the first place. So if you are a parent that is spoiling the hell out of your kid and never ever disciplining them, you are asking for trouble. Teaching your kid consequences, the clean parental version of fuck around and find out, then you are actually doing them a favor. And hopefully that will lessen the likelihood that they end up an asshole. Now, with Icy Wyatt and this whole situation of him ending up with a road rage incident, this kid got famous really fast and he got money really fast. And I don't think anybody is really equipped for that kind of a situation. And from my limited view of what I've seen, in my opinion, he is kind of a dick. And I do kind of feel for his mom. It's a little weird that all this crap is playing out on social media, but I don't think we should necessarily demonize a parent because a kid is an asshole. There can be a lot of reasons for that. So hopefully I can give you a little insight today just based on what a criminal defense lawyer sees. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'll try to answer them.